panel is on mastering marketing, and we have tips, tricks, and tactics to social media. And moderating, we have Nikki Deem. She is the editorial director at the Zoe Report.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. I hope you're having a great time. There's so much fun stuff downstairs, keeping yourselves busy. So my name's Nikki Deem. I'm the editorial director of the Zoe Report. I've worked in the fashion industry for about 10 years. I'm also a consultant and a freelance writer. And I'm joined by some wonderful panelists who have a lot of great insights to share with you all. Firstly, we have Sarah Mendelson, who's head of social media and content for Maybelline New York. She's the social media manager and digital content lead for Maybelline, and she also works as a freelance writer and blogger with her own lifestyle blog, A Hit of Sarah. So welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Next up, we have Bezadona.
Yeah, Bezadona.
Bezadona, I always mess it up. Bezadona Amarua, who is head of emerging talent partnerships at Instagram, where she focuses on digital talent in beauty, lifestyle, and gaming. She holds a Bachelor's of Science degree in sociology and a Master's in business from Mount St. Mary's. She's previously held positions managing talent as an agent at LA Models, was the managing director of M&P, a digital talent agency, and most notably, the director of consumer marketing for Revolt TV, a music cable network owned by someone you might have heard of, the music mogul Sean Diddy Coombs. Her passion for people has allowed her to stay connected to culture. And finally, we have Christina Borving, who is the senior manager of digital marketing at American Eagle Outfitters. She lives and breathes digital and social media, and with 10 years of experience, she's transformed Fortune 500 brands to be social and digital first. Most recently, she relaunched American Eagle on social and founded Social Supper Club, a networking group for millennial entrepreneurs. Welcome.
Hi.
So let's get started. I'm asking this question to all of you because I'm sure you all have slightly different strategies. But can you tell me a little bit about what you look for in influencers that you partner with?
For Maybelline, it's really important for us to work with influencers who already organically speak and love the brand. So we always work with influencers who are already talking about the brand organically, because when we partner with them, it's a more authentic partnership. So really, that's, if you want to get noticed by Maybelline, that's the way to do it. Use our makeup and tag us, and you might hear from us.
Great.
Hi, yeah, so for us, we have over 800 million users on the platform, and I work on a really awesome team called Emerging Talent Partnerships. So we have our head of partnerships, which is Justin, so I'm not, but I'm newest to the team, and we have Jackson and Mitzi. So we work with a wide variety of different talent. I think it's super fun to kind of be able to do that because every account is so unique and no one Instagram account is the same, whether they have similar content or not. So I think I have a really fun job because I don't discriminate. I get to work with a lot of different types of people.
And you also, so you're working on overseeing beauty and lifestyle and gaming, which are all incredibly different beasts.
Yeah, they're all incredibly different. And I think with beauty, I really love the fact that I get to meet so many different accounts that just like range in faces and color, ethnicities, religions, styles, art. And with lifestyle too, the perspective is global. So it's people from all over the world and whatever lifestyle and culture means to them. And then with gaming, it's cool to be opened up to a world that like I've never really participated in unless it's like Nintendo. And that's not what they do. So I work with a lot of like PC gamers and esports teams, which is really awesome to be opened up to that world. And it's both like male and female, like girls are gamers too, which is awesome. So yeah, it's a wide variety.
Amazing. Christina?
Hi, guys. Thanks for having me. So at American Eagle, we really look for people that are doing real things, so real kids doing real things with real stories to tell. We want to really celebrate real kids because we find that they have the most inspiring and relatable stories, so we want to promote them on our platform, give them a platform for telling their stories, and help inspire other kids.
So, Sarah, with Maybelline, how do you create a cohesive brand image on social media? Obviously, you want to be showcasing all of your products, but you also want to be conveying the ethos of the brand. How do you balance those things?
So coming up with a brand aesthetic is actually a really difficult thing. It doesn't matter how big or how old the brand is. Maybelline is over 100 years old, and I remember when we started to get into social media, it was not something that was an easy, like we do print and media, and we just translate that on social media because they're so different. So our content strategy for social, specifically Instagram, is based on 3 things that are important to our brand. And those things are inspiration. We want to inspire anyone who's looking at our platform to try the makeup looks that you see on there. So that comes from influencers that we repost or content that we create, which now is all with influencers. So it really comes from a lot of you guys. Education is also really important to the brand. Maybelline is a mass cosmetics brand, so that means it's available to so many people. And all those people aren't necessarily beauty bloggers or YouTubers or makeup artists, and they might not know how to use the products. So a lot of the content that we share is educational. We do a lot of tutorials on Instagram, on YouTube to show people how to use the products. And lastly, Maybelline is a global brand, and we're in over 150 countries around the world, so it's really important to show diversity on the platform so that when you look at our Instagram or Facebook, you see someone that looks like you, and you can be like, okay, I can create that look with those products because she's wearing it. So that's super important for us too. Once we have all those things, it really helps us create content for the brand. All of the content that we have has to fill into one of those pillars, And then, of course, we have to have an aesthetic of our own. There's so many beauty brands on Instagram, and we have to stand out. Maybelline is Maybelline New York, and New York is a huge part of our aesthetic. If you notice, a lot of the laydowns or the product images we have New York City in the background or like a street, and that really is the New York City tie-in. And the makeup looks too are supposed to be this New York City fashion, trendy look, and that really informs our content strategy.
Smart. So finding something that's kind of unique to you as an influencer would be the equivalent of doing that. How do you use social media to launch a new product? What's the strategy behind a new product launch?
So every product that we have has a story around it. For example, we just launched the Total Temptation collection. It's the first time we launched a collection that spans multiple products and has an eyeshadow palette, a mascara, a brow product, and it looks very different from all the other products that we have. But it has a story. It's called Total Temptation, and that whole collection is really about having a luxurious experience applying makeup. And I don't know about you guys, but I like applying highlighter is the most fun thing for me to do, and there's no shame in enjoying that. So a lot of the content that we launched with our influencers or our spokesmodels, like Adriana Lima is lying on a fluffy blanket, applying mascara and loving it, and so that's the story we tell with that collection. You have to have some kind of story with a product launch because there's a billion mascaras on the market, and each one has to have a different angle to it. So we work together and think of what the angle is for the product that we're launching, and that's how the story comes to life on Instagram or Facebook when we launch.
Cool. So Bezzadona, what are 3, you working at Instagram, you have all of the secret details that we'd love to know. What are your 3 top tips for someone who's starting out on Instagram?
Yeah, I do have those. But I think like the best advice that I love to give, and even from my previous role in managing talent, was authenticity. And I know that's like the biggest buzzword that people tend to hear, and it's like the biggest marketing word, but it's like the most true symbol of having an identity and presence on social media. So when I say authenticity, it's like really bringing yourself into your content. You know, like, who are you? Can your audience feel that? Do they know where you go eat every morning, or do they know what you like and not like? And how can you use a social media platform to just showcase yourself? I know on Instagram's platform, there's so many different features, and there's stories and video and photo. It's how can you use those things to just display yourself and bring yourself and differentiate yourself? And I know, like, being unique is being yourself. And as hard as it sounds, that's the simplest way to go about it. Like, we all don't wear the same lipstick. We all don't wear our hair the same. Like, we do it our own way. And I think, like, staying in that lane is, like, your best bet, especially with so many different people on the platform. That's how you're gonna just differentiate yourself. And then being creative as well, too. Like, creative is, like, top line. It's not like who could be the most artsy, who can use the best filter. It's just about like figuring out how to use those tools to represent yourself. Like, I'm not the best, like, photo taker and, like, putting that in my feed, but, like, I could talk to you all day. So, like, I will talk on my stories as much as I can. And it's like, when no one's there, I'm like, okay, I'll story and I'll talk, you know? And that right there is, like, a connection to your audience. And the third tip is, I tell people, is the quality of your content lies in the life that you give it. So that will be the connection and emotion to your audience.
That's an excellent tip. What are some great ways to brand or market yourself using Instagram?
Yeah, use it. That's, like, number one. I think for so long, different brands and people kind of shied away of, like, oh, it's putting, like, too much online. But the thing is that you have the ability to control that. You control what people get to know and what people don't get to know. If you want to showcase your relationship, cool. If you don't, cool. If you don't want people to know what city you live in, cool. Like, that toggle is all at your ability to, like, up or, like, decrease. And I feel like when you use it, you're putting yourself out there. You just never know who you're going to reach. You know, so it's like having some type of personality and then being engaging too. Your participation with participating with other users is just as important about the content that you put than the content that you put out there. So for example, if you're just posting and you're not engaging with anybody or talking to people that are commenting or asking you questions, then, you know, you're not really, like, using the power of the platform to your true potential. Because one conversation with, like, somebody in your DMs is someone's going to be like, yeah, I was talking to this person in my DMs. Oh, well, who was that? Oh, you should follow this person. It's so and so and so and so. And you don't know how, you know, you're really like spreading your messaging or spreading your brand or how people are going to know you. I love to work with, like, unique designers and people who are up and coming, like, personally. Like, for me, this is, like, one of my girlfriend's brands, Minogu Designs. And I met a woman earlier today, and she was like, oh, I make these chokers. I was like, really? Okay, I'm going to buy it. I'm going to wear it. I'm going to post on my Instagram. I was like, I have to have that this week. Like, and I think, like, that's the power of, like, just putting yourself out there and being, like, confident about it too. So, like, don't be scared to showcase what you got, whether it gets 5 likes, 10 likes, or 1,000 likes, or 100,000. It doesn't matter. Put it out there because somebody will see it. And then be consistent. Like, a lot of people tend to fall off. And falling off is, like, just being gone for 2 weeks. Sure, like, you know, you don't have to be online every day, but, like, that consistency with your audience is the same consistency that you expect Love and Hip Hop and, you know, these shows to come on this time every single day or every single day of the week or whatever, that you can be able to have access, you know. So when you lose access, it's kind of like you lose a connection, and that just all rolls into the way that, like, you are accessible and people can find you. And then also, like, keeping it real, you know, like, people need to trust your brand. So when they see and feel that you're authentic, they're really able to, like, just hold on to that and really trust you. And, you know, that's leads into, like, a whole bunch of other things that you guys get to do, like work with these people and brands, because people trust you. So brands will trust you too.
Can you talk a little bit about the difference between an Instagram post, Instagram stories, Instagram story highlights, and Instagram live? Because I think they're all amazing tools just within one social media platform. And for someone who's kind of new to it, getting to grips with all of those different opportunities can be a little daunting. And you've talked to me about this before, we've met before. You've talked to me a little bit about how you can be so much more direct in your Instagram stories. I think that's an interesting takeaway for people.
Yeah, so I love all the features, and I don't just say that because I work there. But stories for me, like I said, is just like, it's this fun place where you could just drop the veil, right? Like, you don't have to be so primed and proper. It could be scrappy. I look at it as like this behind the scenes into your life. Like something that you don't post on a billboard, but you have a postcard and just like want to show. And it's where you could just talk every single day, or you could post photos, or you could post videos. And I like to like take pictures and edit them and then curate, like for time's sake, you know, because I love to be in the moment. So like I'll snap the moment and then get back to, you know, the life, and then come back and create the story. And people consistently watch stories. So what is that story that you want to share, that part of your day that you think people will like? Or if you're going through something you want to share, if you want to do an Instagram poll, which is super fun because it's another way to engage with your audience. Or use stickers, or, you know, send stories as well too. There's so much interaction that goes on with it that people have to take control of. And then Instagram Live is another really cool tool, because now you guys can go live with other people. So you're not just live by yourself. You can go live with another blogger, a friend in Japan, or a friend in the next room. It doesn't matter. And then you have this dual audience that's watching you. You know, so what are you gonna say? What are you gonna put out there? With feed is still just like the old days where it's fun to post photos, but now you have this other ability to post videos as well, up to a minute. So what do you want to say to your audience that, you know, you could keep static in your feed and that will stay on your profile? That's like a place where things live like forever, or you can archive them. You know, if you want to change up your feed scheme, I know people love to do that. And then highlights is another cool area of your profile where you could take your archive stories and curate them into a longer format story series. So you can have as many highlights as you want. And so some people have been mindful, like, hey, I could save this later and put this in my highlights. So again, what story do you want to create? People have created fashion sections, beauty sections, skincare sections, outfit of the day sections. I saw another really cool highlight where somebody was taking, it was like their winter MP3. And so they had taken these super cool stories in this like video camera format, and then curated it with like music. So like every day he was adding to this story. I thought that was super cool and unique. I think the favorite one that I've seen that I really like was probably like that one, because I was like, oh, I've never seen something like that before. And using all of these together is a healthy mix of content, and it allows for so many versatile ways for your audience to connect with you. So you got to kind of like use them all, like, and you'll have your least favorite or your favorite, but stories is definitely like an everyday thing. It's only there for 24 hours, you know, and you can like message people, and that's the way that you don't feel so much pressure, like, oh, I have to have an Instagram post today. Like, it could be a story. Sometimes I'm like, if you have a bunch of pictures that you may not feel like you don't know which ones you want to pick, throw them up in your stories. Like, you'll still get people allowing you to, being allowed to see it, and then you could put your favorite one in your feed. Or you could do a carousel and have all of those photos in there and allow them to tell a story as well. With your audience, I think people are just looking for interesting things to see. So, and the more you use these different features, the more you're going to be able to figure out how you want to best use it for yourself.
Those are all great points. And I think another thing that you mentioned in that too was talking about influencers working with other influencers, which I think, you know, there's a level of competition, obviously, but it's such a great way to reach new audiences, to partner with other people who are also growing their followings. You can kind of play nicely in the sandbox with someone who has an overlapping interest perhaps a friend of yours is working on kind of establishing themselves as a beauty influencer and you're more on the fashion side, collaborate on something together and you can both reach each other's followings and maybe garner some new people. So let's talk a little bit about American Eagle. American Eagle and Aerie have strayed from the traditional models and really embraced every body type in their marketing and social media, which is amazing. Can you talk a little bit more about the strategy behind that and why you think it's been so successful?
Yeah, absolutely. So at American Eagle, we look at our target, A as being anyone that loves jeans, but on social media specifically, we really try to hone in on the Gen Z target, which is really anyone who's 22, I believe now, 22 and under. And what we found is we use a lot of research, a lot of social listening. We have all these amazing tools at our disposal to really hone in on, what does this target want? What do these kids want? And what we found is they want real stories. They want relatable, real kids who are doing something, standing for something, really expressing themselves. So we heard that and we started creating content around real people. We have lots of diversity. We want to embody every single type of kid, from creatives to sporty, everyone. So we started working with those types of kids, working with real people in real communities. It doesn't necessarily mean that they have the biggest following. It could just mean that they have a really engaged following. It could also just mean that they're doing something that we think is really cool or creative or standing out in their community. So we kind of realized that we, as the brand, have all the tools at our disposal to support these kids. So we use our social media to give them the platform to tell their stories, and by doing so, inspire other people to let them know it's okay to be who you want to be, it's okay to express yourself, and we're trying to create that sense of community amongst our followers and amongst our customers. We always say internally at American Eagle, that we need them more than they need us. So as the brand, we want to give them the platform to really express themselves and be their truest selves. Aerie as well. Aerie, they're doing amazing things with body positivity. They've been ahead of the curve for quite a while. We've been ahead of the curve for quite a while. And I think, being at the forefront of that movement, it's going to continue to be center and core of what we come out with every single season with amazing role models. We've worked with Iskra for quite a while, and now we're coming out with this past season with 3 new role models. So it's something that's always going to be core to our brand because we are seeing that it resonates with our customers and with our followers. And, we just want to celebrate you and make you feel like it's okay for you to celebrate who you are no matter what you look like, where you come from, or what it is that you're into.
Yeah, and just to go back quickly to what you were saying about social listening and kind of finding out who your audience is and what they're looking for, that's something that's it sounds daunting and difficult to really dive into the analytics behind your audience, but it's something that all of the social media platforms now really offer to everyone. So if you're smart about it, you can really learn a lot from who's following you, how much they're engaging with you, the conversations that are happening, the people that are tagging other people in your comments, the amount of people that are watching your Facebook Lives and how long they're watching your Facebook Lives for. So there are a lot of different ways that even without a wonderful corporation behind you with great analytical tools, you can actually really draw a lot of insights from those social media platforms to inform yourself about who your audience is and how to better serve them. So let's talk a little bit about how influencers can use all of the different social media apps to cross-promote their content and grow their following. Obviously, if you're starting out and you don't have a massive team of videographers and photographers and retouchers, you need to make each piece of content work really hard for you. So let's start with you to talk about strategies that you've used to do that.
So, sorry. I feel like right now, Instagram Stories is probably the most effective platform of all for us to drive people somewhere else. And I even see that it's getting more views than the content we're posting on the actual feed. And what I recommend is honestly using Instagram Stories. There's a swipe up feature that I feel like a lot of people don't take advantage of. And if you're posting a YouTube video, make sure you swipe up to that and let people know in your Instagram Stories, put the link in your bio, tweet the link, put it on your Facebook. And what I find too is also that video is the highest engaging on Instagram and Facebook right now. So if you could share like a social clip of whatever you posted on a different platform, I think that's what we do a lot of the time, and it works for us really well.
Great. Christina, what about you?
Yeah, so I know we're all obsessed with growing followers. Even at American Eagle, we are too. I think, though, it's really important to look at engagement and really making sure that your content is resonating with your followers. And I know a bunch of people have talked about this today, about staying true to your brand and your personal brand and your beliefs, and that will help your engagement. To kind of answer it a little bit more directly, I think they talked about the last panel. Pinterest as a tool to help grow traffic to your Instagram page is amazing. We do it for our .com to drive traffic. It's an amazing tool for that. So, and we also started doing it also for our Instagram. And our community manager back there can talk all about it. But yeah, I would say, just definitely make sure your content's engaging. Yeah, the follower game is a tough one, and everyone from if you're starting on your own as an influencer, and also up to the brands, it's a constant struggle to find what's the secret sauce to growing your followers. But I think it's just constantly engaging content and finding new ways to put your content on other platforms.
And I think you make a great point as well, that brands increasingly are not just looking for people with massive followings. It's about people that people talk about micro-influencers all the time. It's about people with really engaged audiences, and in your case, not even massive engaged audiences, like emerging people. So there is a greater opportunity for people who are starting out to actually be major players in that game, because it's all about being an authentic presence rather than being a massive presence, which I think is very exciting. Bezadona, how about you?
Yeah. So I would definitely say focus on your community and start with your strength. I think there's so many different social media channels out there, and everybody has their favorites, and you can have 1 million followers on each. But I've just seen that the most successful accounts are the ones that are like honed in on the thing that they do the best, right? So if you're really like, well, this channel is like lower for me, but like this one has a higher following here. It has a higher following there for a reason. It's because like what you're doing there is great. So I believe like you don't need to be everywhere. You need to be at the place to be at. And the crazy thing is that there's people on every channel, but it's like, what are you gonna do the best? Like I talk a lot, but like I don't have a lot of followers on Twitter. Stories is like where I love to communicate with people, and I think that as individuals or as brands, it's just to kind of concentrate on where you do it best and to let that content kind of flow from there. So often people get bogged down with like trying to really grow really big and build this big community, and it's great to want that, but I think like a singular community is just as powerful and more engaging and probably more tactful than having this like massive reach. And we all know like you can go viral in a day. So I think like you're gonna save yourself some time and be a little bit more distinct and unique if you just really focus on like growing from one place and letting it come naturally. I think social media moves so fast, and we want things to happen like this, but you have to take your time with it to build something so that it's great.
To that end, what do you guys think is next in social media marketing? Do you want to go ahead?
So what I've been seeing recently is that on Facebook and Instagram, there are algorithms that really prevent your content from being seen, and it is a struggle even for the big brands like Maybelline. But what I do see working is, I said it earlier, video content. Facebook especially, when we post videos, the reach is so much higher than when we're posting a still image. And I feel like on Instagram too, there's that explore feed, and the videos are always served there too if you have an interesting video and your cover for that video is interesting too. So I really think video is where content should go for social media, especially if you want to get into beauty. YouTubers and Instagrammers, the videos are really the most powerful thing in that industry because people want to see how products are applied and how to create a look, and it's really difficult to do that through still images. So video, and also I think less produced content. We do a lot of amazing shoots with really amazing photographers and retouchers and models, and I just see sometimes that we post something that was taken on Snapchat of a swatch of a product, and we post it on Instagram, and it does like 10 times better than that really big, beautiful shoot. So I think if you don't have the resources to create something that looks really professional and high scale, you can do something with just your iPhone and it will do well, especially if you're in beauty too. People really just want to see what things look like without all the extra stuff. They want to see exactly how it performs. They don't want to be fooled or tricked. So less produced content, I think, as well.
Sure, and that goes back to the authenticity concept that we were talking about before. Well, what about you, Bezzadona?
So I'm trying to see how I frame this, but I think it's reality. And I have these like thought leader type of answers, I know, but reality in the sense that like people are looking for truth nowadays, and they're looking for something tangible that they could feel and relate to. So I think the more that your content resembles like real life, the more it's gonna resonate with people. And that definitely leads into what I was saying before, like authenticity, because as more and more people join the platform, more and more people are being conscious of the different type of creative tools that people can use to enhance content and make it be well produced or appear a certain way. So the more raw, the more real, the more open, I feel like the higher the value to the actual audience and the more that they're going to connect with it. I think some of the best accounts I've seen, I mean, everybody in this room has seen Cardi B. Like, she's probably filming on like an iPhone 5, not even like a 10. You know, the quality is not at the greatest. It's not like on an HD red camera, but the ability that she has to connect with her audience and talk about the things that she likes and that matters to her, and even the brands that she likes, she does it with ease because she's simply being herself. And I think that that's the easiest way to do things, but for some reason, like most people feel pressure to do the opposite. But I feel like that's the wave when it comes to social media now. People want to see actual reality, and that goes for brands, and that goes for people too. So however you can relate to get to reality is like the best way for you to go.
And how about you, Christina?
Yeah, I totally agree. I think right now, what you can do and what we're doing is really engaging our community in one-to-one conversations. So we have lots of people that reach out to us on DM, on Twitter, on Facebook, and we are making more of an effort and bumping up to really have one-on-one conversations with our followers because they make us who we are. And we love hearing from everyone. And when people kind of reach out to us, it helps us determine, are they liking what we're doing? Do you have any suggestions? Do you want to be featured? We want to have that conversation. I think long term, where social media from a brand perspective can be heading is experiential. So activations, meaning like, going in real-time events. I think we're all craving real connections. We're all here meeting each other in person, even though social media is kind of our first love, I guess. But I think we really want to connect with people and each other in a more a real way. And so I think for a brand, we want to be in those moments, and we want to be at real locations like festivals and places where people are getting together and naturally sharing, so that we can be a part of that sharing process. And I would say the same for influencers. We want to work with influencers at those locations to help spread the message that we are spending lots of money to sponsor. Yeah.
Amazing. Well, thank you all. I'm going to open it up now to questions. I know that we have one over here already.
So that's available for verified accounts and business profiles. Yeah, so I'll just like tell everybody in the room. So that's when you reach 10,000, you'll be able to have that on a business profile. But my suggestion always is like, if you're a person, you should have a person profile, and if you're a business, you should have a business profile. And sometimes as influencers, like you move through that line. But there's also a link in bio. So swipe up is a great feature, but you still have the ability to give a link in your profile. And so if you do switch out, if you do have multiple links that you want to share from a day-to-day basis or a weekly basis, then you should be creating content to point people to your profile to also be able to know that they can link back there. And that's an easy, quick of a, story or a feed post, because I know there's probably some YouTubers in here, right, who definitely post content and you want to point to your newest video. And I've seen that where YouTubers are really good at letting people know, like, hey, there's a new link in my bio, go check it out, go watch it there. And that's the power of you powering your content. I think that when there's a reliance on creative tools, like, well, I need this, like, you actually don't. Like, you have many tools available, and I think that it's really powerful to kind of just utilize different features that are already existing in there to connect. And so link in bio is still really great. And then just like talking to your audience and letting them know, and you could write them in the stories or you can put them in videos, and that creativity is kind of like left up to you to get that message out.
And that goes back to what you were saying before about being reliable and regular with your content. So, for example, if you're posting a new YouTube video every Monday, your followers will learn that. So you can do a story or a mini video in your stories talking about it, and they'll know to go to the link in bio. Having that kind of regular cadence is really helpful, I think, as well.
Yeah, that mini video in your stories. I like that. That's awesome.
A little cut down. One of the things we use at the Zoe Report a lot is we get a lot of bloopers, and we do a lot of like mini takes of things. We'll use those constantly in our stories so that that's not wasted content, but it's all essentially driving you back to the same concept. Anyone else? Yes, go ahead.
Love to hear how you guys use hashtags and how hashtags have a power on social, especially now with the feed. So interested in how each of the brands, especially question for Instagram. I think that I'm a social media manager myself, so knowing a little bit of the tricks behind hashtags would be awesome.
Yeah, I think using it with purpose. So, there's so many different hashtags that you can use, and now we've just had a feature come out where you could follow hashtags. So for me, I have super kinky hair, and so I follow the 4C hair hashtag, so I'm able to see different hairstyles, protective, natural, that flow through my feed, and just like, oh, these are cool daily tips, and there's like a see less or a see more of this. So as I'm choosing those buttons, when I see the features, I'm able to curate what I get to see. So like that's a really fun thing for me. Or using hashtag in stories is just as powerful as using hashtag in feed, because you're able to see different stories for hashtags, as you're also able to see location stories. So again, being mindful about creating with purpose when it comes to hashtags is super important, because overloading is just like, there's no direction with that. Right? And you want to push an audience in a certain way, and then being consistent with those as well. I don't think I use any that, like, I use mood a lot, because like, yeah, I tend to rant. So like, I'll use like mood, and then sometimes I've ended up in the mood hashtag. But like, that's like a fun one for me. But other than that, like, there's nothing for me. But I think for like bloggers, you guys have outfit of the day, you guys have different food places, so like being mindful and going with your expertise too. I always say like they're there at your disposal to use, but don't just use it just to use it, and they're a great way to build communities too. So if some of you guys have bigger blogs that maybe have already been branded, like check that hashtag, communicate with that community that's utilizing it, or use it to discover other communities for yourself.
Yeah, I would say consistency. We spend a lot of time trying to figure out what hashtags we should use for, excuse me, our different campaigns. And if we should be developing campaign-specific hashtags, should we be changing it up? But the reality is it takes quite a while for our followers to adopt a new hashtag for us. So we've found the best way is just to be consistent. We right now are using AE Jeans as we are promoting ourselves as a jeans brand, but we've been using it for the past few months, and it's taken a while for us to see user-generated content around it, and from there, yeah.
We use really direct hashtags, so if you think of how you're searching for things on Instagram, you're not typing like maybe the full name of a product or like a campaign. So how we share hashtags on Instagram is, if it's the Total Temptation Mascara, it's hashtag Total Temptation Mascara and nothing else, so that people can easily find it, and we can easily find all of the content that people are creating under that. For Twitter, though, I think hashtags are super important. If you guys use Twitter, it is the easiest way to get your content noticed, and we use them on Twitter all the time. Whenever something's trending and we happen to have a voice in that conversation, so if it's National Lipstick Day, we will do tweets with that, and they get so much more engagement than anything else. And Twitter is also like a great driving tool to drive to your YouTube, Instagram, or other platforms. So I would definitely try to grow your platform there with using trending hashtags. It's worked for Maybelline, and it's worked for my personal account too.
Go ahead. Oh, sorry, you go first.
What are your thoughts on the contrast between curation and everybody's feeds are very curated and often, not really real. So that versus authenticity and reality. How do you square those two things between sort of the truth and curation?
That's an excellent question. And I think that also kind of harkens back to the different type of content that you put on the different social platforms, because it's all slightly different. Do you want to go first?
Sure. I think it depends on your brand and what kind of social media person you are. So if you're a photographer, I think it's really important to have a curated feed, because people are looking at your content to see, what your aesthetic is. So it should look the same. But I feel like if you were, just a creator, Instagrammer, or a brand like Maybelline, we did try to have something really curated in the past, and it just didn't engage as well as being authentic and sharing realer content, because people aren't looking at Maybelline for that kind of thing. They're looking to see our makeup products. That's what they want to see. They don't care if it looks pretty in the feed. We do, of course, still have our own aesthetic, but we don't spend too much time planning on what our feed looks like, because in reality, people are seeing your content through the news feed more so than they're going to your actual profile.
I think there's, curation is an interesting word, and everybody kind of does it differently. So, with curation, it's going to take time, and there's a little bit more of a thought process about it. But I do feel that people still post authentic content through curation. There's just more care and handle with it. So, curating your stories to edit the photos, or if you have something to say, making sure that you have an A plus B plus C and D. When you push out the story, it makes sense. Doesn't take away from the authenticity, but that curation kind of empowers the message and makes it a little bit more clear and direct. And then when it comes to feed, like she said, people have styles and aesthetics as photographers, or just they see their feed as a real artful place for them, that they want to do that. But it just depends on the users. We've seen users with no feed curation, or their entire feed curation is video. And that's really helped them. So the user can go through the profile and pick which video they want to be entertained by at that moment. But I think it's variable. And it's just depending on the actual user and what they're trying to convey and what they want the audience to know they're best at, or learn from them, or feel when they come to their profile.
I love what you said about platform-specific content too. I mean, on YouTube, I think there's definitely, for American Eagle at least, there's a place for curated content. We want to provide more long-form video content that is engaging and tells a little bit more of a story. On Instagram specifically, I would say that, we're seeing a trend with our target, the Gen Z target under 22, that they are kind of rebelling against that idea of overly shot or overly curated content, and they're shooting a lot on film. They're shooting a lot to make it feel more real and less curated, and we, if you look at our Instagram, are starting to show that as well on our page. So yeah, I think it's starting to trend maybe in the other direction, but I mean, again, it's your personal brand and what works for you, but for us, it's a little bit less curated.
I think your point about defining curation differently makes a lot of sense. For someone who's trying to cover lifestyle and beauty and fashion, making sure that you have an even array of all of those different things so that you're being genuine, but making them feel gritty and real would probably be a good balance. I think it just depends what you're trying to achieve and what feels most authentic to you. Okay, go ahead.
Hi. Many big brands have a beauty presence now on social simply because of the products that they sell. I'm curious as to what you think is the biggest missed opportunity with these brands.
Missed opportunity on social? So I kind of already said this before, but I think the missed opportunity is not engaging one-on-one with your followers. I think that I think we've all been in a position where a brand or an influencer has responded directly to you when you've mentioned them in your story. I mentioned Glossier yesterday, and they reached out to me, and I was super excited about it. I think those are really what makes a loyal follower or a loyal customer, and I think by not doing that or staying quiet, I've been at brands before where they don't respond on social at all. And it's just completely a missed opportunity to building a lifelong follower or customer.
I think for beauty, sometimes it's hard to excite people about specific products. So, for example, we have Super Stay Matte Ink liquid lipstick, which whenever we post gets like 100,000 likes on Instagram, and we know people love it. But then we have this amazing product, these color correcting pens that are so good, but it's so difficult to show that through Instagram. That is the missed opportunity that I'm still trying to figure out myself. How do I get you excited about a color correcting pen? But you have to trial and test different things. So with that specific example, product laydowns really didn't work for that. And still images on beauty on face didn't perform well. But when we showed video content of a girl like applying a color corrector and then doing her whole routine and showing how it transformed her, that really helped. So that's something that we're trying to do with products. Brow products, color correctors, those are always really hard to show. So you have to, I guess, just try and test and learn. And sometimes even when the product is something that's really popular, like the color correctors, you still have to, find different ways to get them to people who would never try them. So it is a struggle, but you just have to change up the content and find what works.
Wonderful. Thank you all so much. We're going to wrap it up, but if you have any questions for our wonderful panelists, come up and say hi to them after this. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.